Hi BookTube, today I want to talk about the Kindle and e-readers in general and how my first year with the Kindle has been. So for a while I had thought that e-readers, Kindles, Kobos, any of those devices were largely unnecessary and that their main function seemed, from everyone that spoke about them, just to be a device that was devoid of distractions. So no Instagram, no Twitter, no notifications, and that was the real draw to these devices. At least that's what it seemed like. And so to me, who'd already adopted, reading on a phone or an iPad, that sole benefit of just being distraction free never seemed enough to justify a $200 purchase, or upwards if you go for a Kindle Scribe or an Oasis or something like that. It just didn't seem justifiable. But, through a lot of Steve Donahue videos, he is a massive advocate for these, and he's actually done probably the perfect Kindle video, which I think he called his Kindle Girly video, which I'll link in the description below. He really goes through every single reason why these are just better than print and paper books. Why, reading Frankenstein here is, if you had to pick one, it's just better in almost every way than this. And that's coming from someone who, as you can see over there, has a lot of... that's just one of my shelves. I have one here that the camera's on, which is double-sized. I've got books over there, yeah. I have a lot of print and paper books. Paperbacks, hardcovers, etc. I love them. I still buy them. I don't want to stop buying them. I don't want to stop reading them. But, you have to remove emotion from these discussions and just recognize that the Kindle is just better. There are two battles here, I'm just looking at my notes here, two battles to fight here when it comes to this discussion. The first being switching you from being just a print and paper reader. You just go to your local bookstore, you just buy these Penguin Classics, you just buy whatever the new release is in paper or hardcover format, and that's the way you read. And you have almost like you almost look down on the concept of e-reading. That's the first battle to win you over to the benefits of e-reading. And then the next one is to go from reading on a phone or an iPad, which is obviously e-reading, to going to a dedicated e-reader like a Kindle, like the Barnes & Noble Nook, like the Kobo, like a myriad of other devices. Those are the two fights that I want to deal with today. So if you're in the second camp and you've adopted e-reading, maybe on your phone, maybe on your iPad, and you're hesitant to make the jump to a dedicated e-reader because maybe of the price, or you just don't see the idea, the real major reason is e-ink. So that's the type of screen that a Kindle uses. So I want to show you here. It is tough to get the complete idea just by looking on a screen at what this is like. But it's totally different to reading on your phone. Reading on your phone, you have a backlit LED screen with a huge amount of light being blasted into your eyes at all times. Doesn't matter how much you dim the brightness. It doesn't matter if you switch to dark mode. It doesn't matter if you switch to true color or whatever new setting that iOS or whatever phone that you have is going to switch or adopt or add. It doesn't matter. You're still getting a huge amount of light blasted into your eyes. This is way different though. I know it's not clear whilst you're watching this on a video, but this feels so much more natural and so much more like reading print and paper. I almost didn't believe that point when it was made online until I finally got this in the mail, opened it, and just looked at it, and it felt like a panel of glass or something that I was reading on. It doesn't feel like a normal screen. It doesn't hurt your eyes in that same way. That's really the biggest draw here. I know that might seem minor, but it's relaxing, and then it has all the features that that your iPad or your iPhone has that benefit you with your reading, which I'll go over as well. So all those great features which I'll cover, but then this e-ink screen that doesn't hurt your eyes, that doesn't wear on you. It feels like you can read this for hours, whereas the longer you look on your phone, especially in a dark room at night when you're going to bed and that's when you want to read, it's hurting your eyes. It's not just in 10 years your eyes will be damaged from this, in 20 years you're going to feel the effects. No, you can feel it now. It's harder to fall asleep. The light stays in your eyes when you close them. It's a bright screen in front of you. It can feel uncomfortable. All those things this doesn't have. So that's really that second battle. So if you've already moved to e-reading, but you haven't moved to an e-reader, that's the major switch. Another key thing is the battery life of this device. This lasts forever. Like, I can't remember the last time I charged this. What's the charge now? It's 43%. I'm betting it's been like 2 weeks at least since I've charged this, and I've read a lot in that time. Steve Donahue, who reads a huge amount, says he'll go a week without charging this. A normal person will go a month without charging this, without even thinking about the need to have a charger with you for this device. If you're at home and you're bedbound for a long period of time, then that's less of a concern. You can plug this in the charger at night. But if you're traveling, last year I was going across the US, if you're commuting, if you're just putting this in your bag when you go to work, if you're taking the train, the subway, the bus, whatever, then you are dealing with battery issues with charging. If you're away camping for a week, whatever, the battery's going to be really handy. The fact that you don't need to charge this, the fact that you don't need to worry about having a charger with you, because so many of the other devices do need a charger, do need to be charged every day, twice a day, etc. This one lasts forever. And as I'm sure you've already noticed as I've been holding this up, the form factor, this is super thin, super light. It's probably the best size for reading. Again, I've just been using this book as a comparison because I've been reading it. I'm like 2/3 through. I'll finish it just after this video. Maybe I'll make a video about this, but I'll put them here, one in front of the other. So this is a size comparison here to a typical paperback. Obviously this is a Penguin. These are both the same book. So you can see here that the Kindle, when you turn it off, will actually have the cover of whatever book you're reading. So this screen is actually off, it's not on. If you turn it on, it will illuminate with the same cover. So whatever book you're reading at the time, whenever you switch the Kindle off, it will have the cover of that book, which is a nice little thing, makes it more like the paperback experience. But anyways, that's Frankenstein, and this is, one of the better examples that a paperback can offer, because this is a short novel. It's like 200 pages plus notes. It's one of the floppier Penguins. You can hold it like that. Okay, well, I'm not giving a good view, but you could hold it like this without it just flapping like that, close on you. It's lighter than an average book, so this is really giving you a lot of the... It doesn't show you a lot of the negatives of most books, but recently I finished War and Peace, like about a week ago. This is the physical version I had. You can't see the weight, but I can feel it now holding it, and reading it in bed, God, I can feel it. Carrying this around outside it's just a no. I don't want to do it. I don't want to put this in my bag. I'm not pulling this out on the train. I'm not taking this on a plane in my backpack. I'm not doing any of that. And so if you have to start changing your reading, the book that you're reading based on a situation that you're in, I know it's a third world problem and all that, but that's disastrous for your reading. If you can't just continue the same book. So this is Frankenstein, but this is also War and Peace. This is also the Iliad and the Odyssey, and whatever book that you want is this. This is the form factor. This is the size. This is how heavy it is. It's not heavy at all. And as small as this device is, it's not frail. You throw this in your bag, chuck it across the room. It's not taking any damage. It's a little slate, black. There are different Kindle versions. So there's the base Kindle, which is a little bit cheaper, and it comes in a few different colors. I think there's like a matcha green and a couple others. This is the Paperwhite, which comes in black, and I think there might be a denim version. I'm not too sure, but you can check that out. But you can see, when I hold this up, the difference is staggering. The difference that you feel is staggering, especially in a hardcover. That's just one book. Let's say you're going on holiday for a couple of months. One book's not enough for you. You want to read 7, 8, 9 books in that time. Maybe less, maybe more. I don't know. 7, 8, 9 books. This is one of them. Frankenstein's one of them. It's adding up now. It's not just adding up a weight on you that you have to carry, but it's like you're thinking about the plane, the weight that you're allowed to carry in your bags, transport. Are these physical books that I paid a lot of money for getting damaged? Now I want to take one to the beach. Am I worried about leaving it? Am I worried about it getting wet? so many things that are going to come into your mind. This isn't just War and Peace and Frankenstein and, I don't know, Lord of the Rings. This is 22,000 books. Something like that. 22,000. Unless you're Steve Donahue, you're not reading that in your lifetime. Okay? So you can have this for your life. You know? This is a Kindle Paperwhite. 16 gigabytes of storage. I'm not going to max that out, really. I'm just not. I mean, if we're being really, giving as much space as possible, we're going to say a book is 1 megabyte. Really, they're not. A lot of them are 500 kilobytes, 600 kilobytes, which is like about half a megabyte. 16 gigabytes, you do the math. There's 1,000 megabytes in a gigabyte. If we're going with a large file size, 1 megabyte each, that's 1,000 books times 16. 16,000 books. But a lot of books are about half that. You can see how much this can carry. This can carry everything. Whereas your actual physical book collection is stored across many, many shelves like this, across your house, that bother everyone that you live with, that bother you when you move house, that bother you when you travel. It's a lot. I mean, imagine, let's say you're in high school now. You have a lot of books, and that collection grows every year. You move house with your family, you pack everything up in boxes, you're paying money for movers to come, you transport those books to a new house. A couple of years later, you go off to university. You want to take some or all of those books with you. You pack them up again, take them in the car, you go. A few years later, you move back. You bring all those books back with you. It's a long ordeal. You're spending time packing, making sure the books aren't getting damaged. Then you move out to another place 3 years later, and you're doing the whole thing again and again. And I know a lot of people with thousands of books across their house that they have to repack every time they move. Of course, if you're not moving, it's less of an issue, but the same issue of not having enough space in your house, having to think about getting a new book, where will it even fit in my house? You don't have to think about that with this. You just don't. And this book that I held up is, here's the price at the back, $9.99 UK, 11 US dollars. That's one book. A really short read as well. I mean, so for me, this is going to be 3 days of reading. And that was 3 light days, really. For Steve, this is like a fifth of his daily reading. For some of you, this is 1 day. That's £10, $11. The next day you want another book, that's another $11, $10. This, probably 20 at least, 25 maybe, 30 sometimes. These kinds of cloth-bound hardcovers. And if you're reading a lot, then that money is adding up rapidly, even if you are going to used bookstores, which, I've spent a lot of money and time in, and I've saved a lot of money in. But with a Kindle, let's say, for example, you're a classics reader primarily like I am. I'll read anything, I'll, take any recommendation, but what I turn to mostly is these kind of books, the Penguin Classics. Yeah, maybe there. Those are all free on Project Gutenberg. Now, if there works in translation, the translation might not be free online in the public domain because it's a new translation, so it's technically not an old book. But you'll find at least one translation of all those canonical classics on Project Gutenberg, probably multiple. So if you want to read all of Dostoevsky, all of Tolstoy, if you want to read all of Victor Hugo, etc., you're going to find a version of those on Project Gutenberg for free. So you can read every canonical classic for just the one-time payment of whatever your e-reader costs. If it's a Kindle, it's going to be, what, $150? £120 here in the UK for this Paperwhite. Get it cheaper on a Prime Day or something like that, or whatever e-reader you have. It's a one-time purchase, and if you're reading classics, you're never paying again. Of course, if you want that specific Penguin Classic cover, like this, with the same notes and everything, then you'll start thinking about paying, or of course piracy, and that's a whole other thing. But if you're a classics reader, you don't have to pay. If you're not, and you read all sorts of different things and new releases and whatnot, you can actually get your library system, whatever different country you are, would have a different thing. Steve mentioned Libby in the US. In the UK, I don't know what the system is because I haven't started using like a digital library. But you can start taking out ebooks from your local library and have them just straight downloaded to your Kindle. So that can be a whole free thing. Those new releases that you would spend 10, 15 of whatever your currency is on every week, every few days maybe, depending on how fast you read. You've cut that entirely down. So whatever kind of reader you are, you're saving a huge amount of money on all those print and paper books when you buy a Kindle or whatever e-reader. Now, I'd like to get into the actual nitty-gritty details of reading on this. So this is what it looks like, if the camera can focus, a page on here. But this can be heavily customized. So you click on the top here. There's an AA button, as you'll see there. And that will let you customize the font, the type, the size, the boldness. I'll show you here. These are the different font types, the looks that Amazon offers. And if none of these are to your taste, you can download fonts online of the infinite variety that exist and download them onto the Kindle. But this is Bakersville right now. I can switch it to Bookerly. That's a big shift. I can switch it to Futura. I recently read Michael Mann's Heat 2, and I thought this was the font for that, so I switched to it. So that's font types. Now, if you want to change the size, I typically read on a 7. You can let me know what you read on, but you can change that all the way up to, this is a 14. You can see that's changed dramatically. You can take that down all the way, as you can see. I'll take it down maybe to actually, let's just go all the way. As much as possible. This is as small as it gets. This is really small, but whatever you like, you can have. I'm just going to bring it back to 7 so I can be comfortable with it. But the boldness is also easily changeable here. Different levels. If I want it to be bolder, this is a size 7, but with maximum boldness. I don't know how visible it is, but it's a clear difference for me looking at it. All those things are customizable. All those things are changeable. Now, on the topic of distractions, even if you've got your Do Not Disturb mode on your phone while you're reading, or you've got your print and paper book, and you've ditched your phone and thrown it across in a different room, you might butt up against certain parts of the book which confuse you, whether it be a word that you don't know, a reference that you're unfamiliar with, a line in another language. So if you read War and Peace, I know some translations will include just long passages in French. Of course, some of them will have footnote translations, but a lot of books will include different lines in different languages just thrown in there. So what do? You go to your phone, you pick it up, you look the thing up, and then you potentially get distracted with another app, with another notification, an email. Now you're thinking about something else, and now you've lost the reading rhythm. With this, here's a literary reference to Volney's Ruins of Empires in Frankenstein. So I'm gonna do this. You can highlight as much as you want. So this is if you're just highlighting, but I just want to know about this, Volney's Ruin of Empires. So I highlighted this, and it's come up with a Wikipedia page. It's given me just the first brief highlights of it, but if I want everything from this writer's Wikipedia page, Volney, then you can just click it and it can take you to the actual Wikipedia page without having to okay, sorry, it's usually pretty easy, without having to switch to your phone and potentially get distracted. And now it's not just Wikipedia that this offers. That's usually for those references, cultural and literary, but let's say there's a word that you don't know. I don't know. Through this work, I obtained a cursory knowledge of history. So you didn't know what cursory meant. You'd highlight it, there's a dictionary definition. If it's a word with multiple definitions, you can see all the different ones and go through them. And if this was a word in another language, you can go to the translation. Okay, and it says from English to English here, because the word is in English. But if it was a French word or whatever, you could change all the different languages here. Arabic, simplified Chinese, Danish, Dutch, whatever the hell you want. This will translate it for you in a brief second. Now, if you are highlighting to take notes, you do this, let's say. You click note. Now pops up the keyboard and you start typing away as much as you want. So reading War and Peace, which I did recently, I, after a while, ditched the physical version and started reading on the Kindle because of the form factor and the portability and all that. And I was taking copious amounts of notes, which on a physical edition, I'm almost dissuaded from. You have to have a pencil nearby. When you open a page, I don't want to go too far lest I spoil things. But you open a page like this. Where am I writing my notes? You know, here, in this brief, you know, period between the text and the border, that little area. Maybe here, if you're lucky, a chapter ends and a new one begins and you get a little bit of blank space. That's terrible. The types of notes that you can write on a Kindle or another e-reader are infinite. You can go on at length. You can do as much as you want, and not just let's not just talk about long notes. But when you're reading, let's say you're in bed, I'm reading Frankenstein. I'm holding the book up like this. Now I want to write a note, so I need to get up, find a surface, get my pencil, and, you know, try and fit a note in a page like this in the small little areas. It's a lot of effort. Even if my note was just, you know, WTF, which I now note on my Kindle sometimes. What the hell? Oh my god. Wow, shock. Just random things like that I'm feeling like in the moment. Of course, there are other lengthy notes, but when you have a Kindle, there's nothing to dissuade you from taking a note about anything at any time for any passage in the book. Whereas with the physical version, there is. You know, it's effort, and it gets you out of the reading rhythm. And, you know, a lot of us, unless you're Steve Donahue, we always worry about that we're not reading enough, there's too many books, not enough time, we're reading too slowly, we're getting distracted. This doesn't help you. But this Kindle or any e-reader really does. It's so much easier to take those notes. It inspires you to take notes. And I think that note-taking makes you engage with your reading more and makes you read faster in a way. Even though it slows you down in the moment, you're enjoying your reading more. So you're reading more and getting to read more and opening the book more and being more interested in what you're reading. So note-taking is positive, and this makes it way easier. And then when you're done, I think I want to go back to War and Peace just to show you the evidence here. And by the way, this is what the home page will look like. This is my library. You scroll through it, the different covers pop up here. I think you can actually add custom covers to these books. I haven't delved that deep into this. These are just whatever the covers that they have. And by the way, a lot of these are side-loaded. So you can go onto the internet to a place like Project Gutenberg or any of the other millions of websites that are out there, download an EPUB file, share it to the Kindle app, and anything that's on your Kindle app, on your phone or iPad or whatever, will automatically be found here. It will sync up straight away. Or I think you can also email it to your Kindle. So here's War and Peace, and if you click on the top, you can actually pull up your list of notes that you've taken and highlights and all that kind of stuff. So when you click on that button, it's going to pull up a list of all your different highlights and notes, if I can get this to focus. Yeah. And you can just scroll through these. I mean, I've got tons and tons here. Okay, so you'll have the highlight here of what was said in the book, and then my note. That's a short note. It can be longer. You can then click on it, and it will take you there, right to the page. And at the bottom, it will say, stay here or go back to the location you were at. So you're not going to forget. Sorry, let me refocus. You're not going to forget where you were. Click on a note and it's going to take you, into the middle of nowhere. It's all amazing. It's all so much better than this. If you've written, a bunch of notes in a paperback like this, and now you want to find a specific one afterwards, maybe you're a book reviewer and you want to find something. Maybe you just want to find it. It's way tougher. You want to find something that you've noted down in here. You have to look through every page. And then, it'll take you ages to find it. Here you can search up a note. You can literally search and type for something that you've written or a quote or something in the book. And it will pull up that exact page, that exact note. If you want, when you finish the book, to send the notes to your other device, you can email them all to yourself. It's just so easy and handy. Now, many of you classics fans, when reading stuff like this, will have seen and be very familiar with these little numbered notes, as you can see here. That's a 1 over there. And when you see that, it means you have to flick to the back of the book. Let's say you're reading here. You have to flick all the way, find the notes, find the number 1 that's associated with that, and then read the note, and then flick all the way back to the page that you're on and continue reading. If there's a lot of notes that come up, a lot of numbers, then you have to do that very frequently. And if you're doing that very frequently, maybe you have to dog ear the page where the notes are, which I know a lot of you don't like to do. And if you've dog-eared that page and the notes have now moved on because you have a lot to the next page or the page afterwards, you're going to have to keep dog-earing and undog-earing pages. Or if it's something like this, there's a built-in bookmark here. So I actually stuck the bookmark in the notes and then used a separate external bookmark to mark where I was in the book. So whenever I wanted to flick to the notes, it was already here and I didn't need to do anything. But still, that's not in every book, and that's still a little annoying. With this, you click the one here, and it will pull up this pop-up tab with the entire note. So you can read that and then click off elsewhere on the screen and it's going to go away. No need to go back and forth anywhere, no need to remember where you were, no need to bookmark anything. And it does that for any one of these notes. And if you read a lot of classics and reprints, there might be a lot of these. And you don't want to keep flicking back. It's annoying. It's a hassle. This cuts that out. You can see that that's a pattern with these e-readers. They cut everything out. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of these features you'll get when you read on your phone or your iPad on the Kindle app, which is free, or on the Books app or something like that. But what you won't get is the battery life, which is immense on one of these little devices, or the most important thing for me, which is the e-ink screen, which means you can read for hours without feeling any strain on your eyes. It means you can look at a Kindle or another e-reader and it feels just like a paperback book, or very close to it. It doesn't feel like something artificial like a phone does. You don't get that backlighting. You can read in bed so easily. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to bother anyone else in the room. If it's a dark room at night, you don't need a reading light. You're reading this at night. You have to switch. I have a little reading light over there. You have to switch it. You have to aim it at your book. You have to make sure that the shadow is not getting in the way. Someone else that's with you, they want the reading light off. And now it's a whole argument. It's a whole thing. If you don't have a reading light, which I didn't used to have, I would turn. So I have a TV here and my bed's over there. I would turn myself so I'm facing the opposite way that you're meant to lie down on the bed, so that the TV was behind my head, backlight on my book basically on the TV. And then open this bathroom door, turn the light on there so it illuminates the rest of the room. And then when I was really tired and wanted to fall asleep, I have to turn the TV off, turn that light off, reverse myself back into the normal position. It was such a hassle. With this, you flick it on with this button here, and then you turn it off. You can adjust the brightness. I'll bring this down, I'll show you. That's brightness, that's warmth. I can make it as bright as possible here. Is this focusing? Yeah, I hope it is. Or you can tap here and make it as dim as possible. I keep it somewhere around 17 usually during the day, and I dim it at night. You can alter the warmth. So let's raise it all the way. Now you can see it's much more yellow. A lot of people find this more comfortable to look at. They do the same with their phone. And you bring it all the way here and it's much cooler. And of course you get the lovely dark mode. So if you're reading at night, I'll show you what it's like. This is what it's like. You can also change the brightness and the warmth of dark mode. So this has everything. And I mentioned earlier how you can sideload books onto this device. So you can connect your Amazon account to this, and then anything that's on your Amazon Kindle app will automatically show up here and be synced up here. I'm sure that the system is pretty similar with other different e-readers. Some have complained about the over-reliance on Amazon and some of the issues that the company have, and issues with ownership of the book, and how there was a recent little scandal where George Orwell's 1984 had something changed in the book because it was an Amazon like EPUB file, and they changed a word or a line in the book, and that brought up a whole conversation about ownership and the fact that when you get a book from Amazon that you don't own it and they can actually take it away from you but you've paid for it. That's a whole other conversation, one that I actually don't butt up against that often because I am getting this stuff from Gutenberg or other such websites, so I don't tend to deal as much with the whole ownership issue. If that's an issue for you, there are other videos out there which discuss that, but it's still a lot cheaper. You're still saving so much more money to this. This gets damaged. The page is yellow over time. It's heavy. I mean, this one's light, but a lot of books can be heavy. You're reading, as I said, this is a much floppier, nicer spine. I'll pull up one that isn't. Great Expectations, for example. you can hear that little crunchiness. That's always a bad sign. You open the book. Now the spine is cracked, so it might hold easier. But even with a cracked spine, it closes in on you everywhere. So when you hold it, you have to hold it like this. And then use your other hand to hold this open and read. Flicking the page, you're in bed, you're turning over. I know it's not the end of the world, but it's a little extra hassle that the Kindle saves you from. And that makes your reading more efficient. And that makes you read more. At least that's what I found personally. And that's what I've heard so many people online mention. The Kindle helps me read more. Whatever e-reader, it helps me read more. I can carry this with me everywhere. It's durable. It lasts forever. I don't have to charge it. The font size, the brightness, it's all customizable. 22,000 books. It has everything. I don't have to flick back and forth with the pages. I can write essays on every word. I can highlight this word, or this little phrase, click note, write an entire essay on it, save it, email that to myself, or just keep it there, and do the same for every single word if I wanted to. It motivates you to note, as I said, to take notes. Whereas with this, it's a hassle. You just want to keep reading. I don't want to turn around, put something, get the pencil, start trying to match my little words and my rough, terrible handwriting and get it all sorted. It's terrible. I don't like it. I still keep reading from these, but I'm reading a lot from this, and I didn't think that I would be. If you want to talk about issues with this, I know nothing is perfect, but this is near it. The only real issue is the power button that's here. And usually when you're reading, you're holding it like this. Your little pinky finger is resting right on the power button. So if you're to hit it hard enough while it's on, it will turn off. I haven't really been annoyed by that so much, except when I read on the train and I rest this on the little like flap out table, and I put this on a little ridge on that table, and when the train shakes, it sometimes flicks on and off. A lot of people though, they do get annoyed when they hold it. It can switch on and off. For me, it's not as much of an issue. But again, I feel like I just want to reiterate, I don't want to pull this out on the train. A busy train, which I've been on millions of times. This is annoying. It's heavy. It's getting in the way. There's someone right next to you there. There's someone standing in the aisle. It's getting hot and stuffy. This is way easier. I can put it in front of me and just tap. I can do anything with this. I can carry it anywhere. Some pockets that you wear will be able to fit this in. My typical winter jacket, this fits in its pocket. So when I go on a walk, I always take this. Because of the font size and this whole e-ink thing, I find it really easy to read while I'm walking. Whereas if I was opening a paperback like this, with its much smaller font size, and it doesn't have that e-ink display, I don't think I'd be able to focus. I don't think I'd be able to walk properly whilst reading this. I think I'd be bumping into things, getting distracted, losing focus on both the reading and the walking. I don't feel that with this. That's from experience. I take this out every day when I walk to the shops nearby, when I just walk for the sake of walking, when I go to the nearby health club, for a swim or something. I walk with this to the changing room, then I put this in the bag. When I finish, I take it out, start reading and walk all the way back. It's nearby, it's like 10 minutes away. Anyways, you get in more reading with this. When you're just reading print and paper, you basically have to be sat down somewhere to read. You can't just take this out with you everywhere. You can't get in those little 10 minutes extra reading here, 5 minutes extra reading when you walk there. You can't get in that extra reading time. That could amount to an hour every day, for example. If you're reading this, War and Peace, again, you don't want to take this on your commute every day to work. But you do want to take this. It's so light, it's so easy. And you could say the same for the phone, but again, I'll come back to that whole e-ink thing. I think I've discussed everything. These are amazing. There are some other features that I haven't really tapped into. This can hold audiobooks. I do listen to audiobooks, not so much these days, but there was a time where I was a big fan of them. I have a complete Sherlock Holmes audiobook collection. I'm forgetting now who it's narrated by, but someone pretty famous. And I was listening to those all the time. And this can hold them. But audiobooks take up a lot more space than ebooks. So that whole storage thing, 22,000 books, becomes a whole lot less when we're talking about audiobooks. You can also have comic books on here, but for one, this is in black and white. Kindle has released their new color soft, which I haven't seen or tried in public, but I know it does have a color screen. So when you're reading a Marvel or DC comic book that's not a manga, mangas are usually in black and white. When you're reading one of those comic books, now you can have color. But one little thing with the Kindle is the refresh rate. It has a much lower refresh rate than an iPhone or an iPad, and that's one of the reasons it keeps battery life really high. So when you're turning the pages in a comic book, it's going to feel a little slower than you're expecting, or what you might be used to if you read on an iPad. So there's that. But just for reading normal books, for reading this, whatever new release that's come out, whatever thing, this replaces your paperback for you. It's better in every way. You don't need a light. You don't need a lot of space. You just need this. You don't need to charge it that often. It's amazing. 1 year, it's really changed my life. It's made me a much more engaged reader in terms of note-taking and highlighting. And when I do that, I remember more. You know, when I have a funny little thought about something that a character said that I just want to write lol at, I do it now. And I remember that line later, that passage. You can highlight as much as you want. You can just, I don't know, it's not open now. You can hold down and bring it to the corner of the page so it can flick the page for you and continue your highlight if you have a particularly long highlight. It really is amazing. Just e-readers in general. You go out and buy whichever one that you want to. But I think I can assure you that it will change your reading life for the better, whichever one you get. There's the Paperwhite here, 16 gigabytes. There's a signature version with 32 gigabytes. There's the base Kindle, which is cheaper. There's the Scribe, which you can draw on. The Oasis, which people like, but it's discontinued. And there are other companies that make them. I've gone on way too long. These are great. They've changed the way I read. Steve Donahue makes great videos about them if you want to hear some more about them. If you're not convinced, but yeah. Thank you very much, BookTube. I'll be back.